What's up guys, Aaron Bennett here. In this video, I am coming to you from a gym. It is a very, very boring white background. What I want to cover are the updates for Celsius Network. Tomorrow, they will be before the judge in court. And what I want to cover are a couple things just to get us ready for that. I'm going to cover the judge approving the 2004 motions to allow depositions. I'm then going to cover White and Case of the UCC, how they charged, or basically we paid $4.2 million freaking dollars of work for 1 month and how I feel about that. I'm going to talk about the agenda for tomorrow, November 1st's hearing. I'm going to talk about Latham and Watkins. This is another firm that Celsius has employed. They racked up $1.7 million in fees for 6 weeks. I'm then going to talk about Kirkland saying that the examiner should not expand their scope to look into whether Cell was a Ponzi, and really what I think about that, what's going on behind the scenes there. I'm going to talk about the UCC not wanting the examiner to expand its scope also, and why the UCC would not want them to do that. And then I'm going to talk about the examiner, why she feels that she needs to expand the scope, look into Cell Token, look into if Celsius was a Ponzi, and when that could have started. So starting out first, the order authorizing the examiner to conduct 2004 examinations. So basically what this means, and it is signed by Martin Glenn, the judge, is that the examiner can basically depose people, and people can't just say, no, I don't want you to talk to me, or no, we're not going to give you this information. It gives the examiner a lot more power. Next, take a look at this, the first monthly statement of White and Case. This is July 29th through August 31st. This is one freaking month, guys, and I saw this, I tweeted about it, and I was like, what the hell is going on? In 1 month, White and Case, this is the firm representing the UCC, which is representing our best interests, they charged $4.2 million. You scroll down here, you can see how much each person actually got paid. As I continue to scroll down, just bear with me. Here we go. So the average rate, so here we have people making $900 an hour, over $1,000 an hour, $1,200 an hour. Absolutely insane if you ask me. In 1 month, people are making $117,000, $225,000, $172,000. Here, somebody made $271,000 in a freaking month. And here somebody made $246,000, and this person wins the grand prize of $360,000 they made in 1 month because they billed 222.7 hours at $1,620 a freaking hour, guys. So I posted about this on Twitter, and I was like, what in the flippin' freak is going on here? And I'll head right here to Latham and Watkins. So they are working for the debtors, one of maybe 5 or 6 different companies working for them for 6 weeks. You can see that they billed, as I scroll down here, they billed $2.185 million freaking dollars. And if you scroll down here, you can see again for 6 weeks how much these people made. Oh, nice. This girl named Heather made $222,000 for 6 weeks. This person made $339,000 for 6 weeks. And this person $345,000 for a month and a half. It's absolutely infuriating to me, and I know to a lot of other people as well. I don't want to make this video about, what I think is frustrating me. We have to focus on getting out of Chapter 11. That is what we need to do. And I'm going to talk a little bit later in the video about, does the UCC or Kirkland and Ellis really have that much of a motivation to get out of Chapter 11? They're making a ton of money. They're making a ton of money, basically our money, the creditors' money, and it sucks. So let's go ahead and head to the next story here. We have the agenda for tomorrow. I'm not going to go through it, but a lot of very important things are going to be covered, and I will definitely let you know what happens. So next, we have a statement from Kirkland and Ellis talking about why the examiner should not expand their scope. So they talk about the examiner wanting to look into public representations made by Celsius to attract customers to their platform. And there's also a motion from Ignat, someone who wants the examiner to investigate whether Celsius engaged in a Ponzi scheme. So here's what Kirkland said. They're concerned that the relief requested in the motions could significantly expand the time frame it will take for the examiner to complete her report and be duplicative of work of the committee is already doing. I have a couple problems with this. For one, it will expand the time frame. okay, if you're Kirkland, do you care if this goes on another 5 months? You probably want it to because you're getting paid millions of dollars a month as this goes on. So for them to say, oh, we don't want them to examine this because it'll take more time, what incentive do they have to speed up this process? I don't know. Kirkland then goes on to say, the debtors are concerned that the examiner's motion seeks to expand the examiner's court-approved mandate to include an analysis of the debtor's public statements to customers. Now, this is important. They say undertaking such a review would require significant time and resources and would likely exceed the time frame allotted for producing her report. And I'll get to later in this video, the examiner replies to this statement or to these statements that Kirkland is saying, and she's going to be like, no, it's not going to take too long. We will get the report out in time, and there's a reason that we want to be doing these investigations. So they want to investigate, again, the statements to customers, essentially all the AMAs, every single public thing that Alex and the insiders have said, all the tweets, everything. They want to look into this. And Kirkland is saying, no, it's going to take too much time. It's going to take too much money. There's going to be duplicative efforts. It's going to be basically a waste. And I disagree, actually. I highly disagree. So they're also replying to the motion of whether the debtors have engaged in a Ponzi scheme. And here's what Kirkland said. The debtors maintain that the scope of the work plan for the examiner is adequate as is, and that authorizing such any inquiry, like looking into whether they were a Ponzi, would be a significant expansion of scope, and the debtors understand that the committee is already focused on this. So in the next story here, I'm going to talk about what the UCC says as well, and they kind of support Kirkland. Kirkland and the UCC are kind of working together, and then I'll get to in the final story, the examiner is like, I need to investigate this. I'm an independent third party, and the UCC is not going to be without prejudice. And I find that very interesting. So what do I think is going on here? I think this Kirkland document here, they are doing what they can to protect their clients, which is Celsius. So think about it. Would they want the examiner to look into if Celsius was a Ponzi? No, because if it is true, then Alex is going to jail, right? Of course, they're not going to want that. Do they want the examiner to look into every single thing that Alex has said on every AMA? No, because that would show that Alex was lying every single week, or not every week, but a lot of the weeks he was lying, right? And this is proven. So, of course, they are protecting their own clients here. Next, take a look at what the UCC says about this expansion of the scope of the examiner. So they start out by saying that the UCC and the examiner have been in communication, that the UCC is bringing her up to speed, and they are trying to reduce the costs of the examination. And this is all as to why the examiner should not be expanding their scope, which again I find pretty interesting, and here are the UCC's reasons. They say the examiner's expansion to include regarding public communications to customers are similarly not clarifying in nature. So they're talking about the whole thing about the examiner, again, looking at every single AMA, every single frickin' thing, every single tweet, and examining exactly what they said. What the UCC is saying is they do not want that to happen. The UCC says the examiner motion specifically noted the debtors' customers had written letters to the court to express grievances. All those letters that were coming into Judge Glenn, right? All those letters that you guys wrote, which I'm super glad you guys wrote. The examiner said that current management made regular public announcements to customers assuring them of the safety of their crypto assets through regular AMAs when management was aware of the dangers surrounding investments. This is what the examiner has said. And what does the UCC say? Well, they oppose any expansion of the examiner's scope to address those matters for 3 reasons, including potential misrepresentations and also addressing issues with Cell Token. First, the UCC says they don't want to duplicate work already done by the committee. Okay, I get that. That makes sense. The UCC's professionals have spent a significant amount of time reviewing these communications, meaning the AMAs, and developing potential causes of action that may result from those public statements, including numerous hours of YouTube AMAs and interviews by Alex and other insiders. The UCC says there is simply no reason to duplicate those efforts. So, okay, that's their first defense. Don't duplicate the efforts because it'll waste time and money. All right. The second reason that the UCC does not want the examiner to look into these things is that they have concerns regarding whether the examiner can address the proposed expanded scope by the December 10th deadline for the examiner's final report. And in my next story, I will cover again what the examiner has to say about all of these objections. And finally, the UCC says that if it is granted, the examiner would have to extend the deadline to file her report, which is due on December 10th. So the UCC also says they are objecting to whether the debtors was a Ponzi scheme, and if so, when the Ponzi scheme began. The court should deny the motion for the same reason that it should deny the scope expansion motion. There is no question that the debtors' pre-petition business practices warrant scrutiny, so the UCC is saying, yeah, they did things that were pretty sketchy. But the UCC says, however, the matters cited by this guy who wants this motion are well within the ambit of the committee's ongoing investigation. So the UCC is saying, we got this under control, guys. We have our team. We are getting paid $4 million a month or whatever. And not only us, but we have our blockchain specialists. We have Elementis, M3, whatever, all these people that are taking money from the estate. And we do not need the examiner to do the same things that we are doing. We are looking into whether it's a Ponzi. We are looking into what happened pre-petition. We are looking into sell token. We are looking into every single thing that Alex has said on AMAs. That is the defense of why the UCC doesn't want the examiner to do this work. I disagree, and I'm going to get right now to the final story, talking about what the examiner says about this. So here is their reply, and I will just cover the highlights here. Here it says the examiner believes that her work will assist all parties in this case precisely because she is neutral, and her work will be public. Very important. Neutral, and her work will be public, which allows parties to have a basic understanding of the facts. She says a database will be created with all the materials she reviewed so that all parties in the case will have access to the documents that inform the facts she has found. What the examiner proposes to do, publicly report on the facts, get this guys, is very much unlike whatever work the committee has undertaken. So the examiner starts out by saying, you know what, even if we have an overlap in investigation, the UCC is not going to be public. And like I'll get to later, they may actually withhold information for attorney-client privilege, where the examiner is like, you know what, F that. And we're going to make everything public. We're going to make a database of everything we find. And the information that we present is going to be very, very different. They are not biased, which the UCC should not be biased. If anything, they should be biased in the favor of the creditors. But the examiner is like, you know what? We are going to do a better job, basically. Here, the examiner says that the committee will undoubtedly and properly invoke work product and attorney-client privileges to protect some of its work from public disclosure. So again, the examiner is not going to have any attorney-client privileges, and they will share everything publicly, which, honestly, I'm in favor of. They say, thus, the committee's work, while valuable for other reasons, does not promote the transparency that drove the decision to appoint an examiner and has caused the customers to repeatedly make filings asking for information. I am really happy that the examiner did this. They are saying that we are needed, and the reason that the examiner was approved, that Judge Glenn approved the examiner, is because there was so much BS happening where the information wasn't getting out there, Celsius was not disclosing everything, that there was so much going on, right? From all the letters being like, Alex lied every week, from all the emails that were sent saying we could never have a bank run. You know, they needed an examiner that could look into this stuff, and I completely agree. So let me continue the story, and then I'll finish up with my thoughts. The examiner also believes that everything can be completed within the budget and time frame set forth in her work plan, assuming, in italics, the debtors cooperate in the expedited production of documents and other info, including providing access to individuals with the necessary info. So if I take a look at my first story here, Martin Glenn approved the order authorizing the examiner to conduct 2004 examinations. This will help the examiner get all the information she needs in writing, and also by deposing people, by deposing insiders, ex-employees, everybody. So here the examiner actually makes the UCC look kind of stupid. And here's what she said. The committee first says that the work will duplicate what the committee is doing. The UCC says, hey, we don't want duplicative work. But the examiner says here, the committee also states that it has been waiting for the debtors to produce the info needed to do this work for some time. So they said the points are inconsistent. Either it has already completed this work or it hasn't, meaning the UCC. But it cannot complain about duplication if, as it also argues, it is highly skeptical that the examiner will receive the necessary materials to do the work when the committee apparently is still waiting for the same. So, wow, the examiner is basically laying the smackdown on the UCC, and she has some other examples a little bit later on, but that's what I wanted to cover mainly, essentially like, hey, the UCC is like, we can't get Celsius to give us the info so we can make these determinations. But also, we don't want the examiner to duplicate our efforts. But also, we can't even do our job. Like, the UCC can't even do their job. The examiner, you know what? The examiner can do her job. She can get facts and documents and interviews under oath way faster, I believe, than the UCC. She is appointed by the freaking judge. So finally talking about if the debtor's engaged in a Ponzi scheme or other fraud. So the examiner says if the debtor's engaged in a Ponzi scheme or other fraud, that is for the court to decide. Rather than asking the examiner to conclude whether Celsius's business operations were a Ponzi scheme, the examiner suggests that any examination of this issue should be framed as a factual inquiry. Very important right here, guys. Did the debtors use deposits by later customers to repay amounts due to earlier customers? And if this occurred, what was the extent of this practice? When did it start? And for how long did this occur? Wow. So this was from Jenner and Block. This is the firm representing the UCC, and I think they did a great job. Now, I will finish off the video just with my thoughts about this. We know that if the examiner gets deeper and deeper into the weeds and they find things that are possibly criminal or fraudulent, this could slow down restructuring, slow down getting our coins back ultimately. So I do think there needs to be a balance. Now, what Simon Dixon has said is that you can get out of Chapter 11, like with his plan, for example, a reorg, and you can still have the examiner look into these things, look into these possible criminal acts, do insider clawbacks, look at sell token, look at whether it was a Ponzi scheme, but we can still get our coins out that Celsius has, and any crypto that comes later on from the judgments of the examiner can go into the estate, which would then come back to us, the creditors. So that's what I'm focused on right now. I know this video is pretty intense because we're looking at how much we're paying these lawyers, and, you know, the UCC and Kirkland are agreeing, but then the examiner is like, you know what, F you, I still need to examine. Ultimately, guys, again, we need to get out of Chapter 11 as quickly as possible, and whether that's from a bid, whether that's from a sale of assets, whether that's Simon's plan, whether that is another plan in the community, like Zach has a plan, whether that is a plan we haven't even heard of, you know, getting out of this mess, getting our coins back, and hopefully have equity, which could make us whole, is the only thing that matters. All of this stuff is going to happen anyway, and we just have to stay focused on really what matters here. All right, guys, that is it for the video. Aaron coming to you from the gym with a really professional, dirty white wall behind me. There are some people working out here, so I'm not going to show you what's going on because that would be pretty inappropriate just to point the camera at people. But anyway, guys, I just want to take this time, let you know what's going on. I will let you know what happens from their time in court tomorrow. And that is it for the video. Take care. Till next time, talk with you soon, and bye for now.